Level Up Latina partners with working women and mamas alike to guide them in achieving fulfilling career and life goals through financial empowerment, professional or leadership coaching, and personal wellness. Find the unique coaching you need to succeed.
You're listening to Vero, Ceci, and Irene, and we are Level Up Latina.
Good morning, good morning. It is the morning, so por eso lo digo. But welcome to another episode of the Level Up Latina podcast. This is episode 176, and I say no lo creo, pero aquí estamos, vivitas y coleando. And today's topic is this week we're talking self-care. You know, every week we have a different topic, but this week is self-care, and we're going to be talking about guilt trips surrounding self-care and how that makes us feel, or if anyone, or do we feel guilty about it, or anyone else making us feel guilty for self-caring. But before we jump into it, ¿Cómo están, chulas? We are in the thick of fall. So, ¿cómo están? ¿Cómo amanecieron?
Irene looks like she's about to drop a rap album right now and go play some
I have
hoops.
my hat on. It's cold.
Love and basketball right now.
My flannel on. I know, it's haciendo frío, but I do like it. Vero was saying she likes it. I do like it too. It's nice when the weather changes. So, frito, but ahí, bien, viviendo.
But doing good. I feel like that whole time change también really helped. Usually the morning, well, you guys know, with little ones, la pinche mañana se pasa like nothing. You know, next thing you know, I'm like, noon, which kid do I have to pick up now? But so far, it's such a good morning, super good. Everything's been working out. It's chilly, and I'm happy to be there. I have that, like I said, the Juanga song in my head of the Buenos Días, Señor Sol, and I'm vibing.
Todas las mañanas con
Al
Señor Sol.
Por otro día
I need to get like a soundbite and put it right here. Put the
it's okay. We don't have to know the words right now. You know,
yeah. It's a good song. It's a good song. Yeah, it feels like that. It's sunny over here too, pero con frío. Sunny con frío. But yeah, we're enjoying. I mean, I guess we're enjoying con frillito and like drinking my tecito. So speaking of self-care. That's how I felt this morning. I was like, I usually feel, you guys have seen me with my big ass like jug of water que me lleno todas las mañanas. I was like, I know, I'm like the water is like coming out really cold from the faucet. I mean, I usually like it that cold, pero ahorita en la mañana I'm like, hell no, I'm gonna like servirme un tezote and sip it while we're here discussing our self-care and just discussing this topic for today. Anyone have anyone wants to start today? I know we have a couple notes, and the other day we were talking about this topic. I jotted some notes down, but alguien quiera empezarnos el día de hoy.
Yo acá con la mano parada, me, because you guys know que nunca me acerco de mi prisión de la casa. But, like, no, it's not like a prison. I'm kidding, you guys. It's really a joke. I mean, I love my kids. I love my little casita and everything. But there's really hardly any time to make time to be me and to get out. And, a ustedes casi no las veo. Like, this is my getaway. Like, my little me time helps me just kind of self-preservation. Like, it reminds me of who I am and the people I'm surrounded by. Y me dan buenas ánimos para the rest of the week, So last week, I got together with a bunch of our hermanas, some of the girls from UCLA, and I got to see Summer from UCSB, and we just all got together and went to a day at Disney. And usually, Disney's for kids, or the idea is like Disney's for kids and blah, 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 blah. But I managed to get away for the evening to just hang out with these girls and like catch up and like share each other's stories. Y qué te está pasando a ti? ¿Qué onda con esto? And then just goof off, like literally laughter till we peed, literally. And it was such a good time because it's refreshing to be who you, like, remind yourself of, like, oh, this is goofy ass Vero, or this is, the things that I do when my kids aren't around. These are the kind of conversations I can have instead of just like, ay, bodoquitos, cositas hermosas, like, so it was really nice. The only part when we're talking about guilt tripping, like, I felt like my husband knew where I was going. I didn't want to tell the kids because then they were like, Mommy, we want to go to Disney, But I did end up telling them. We did end up telling them. The thing I was afraid of is like telling my mom, because my mom was here helping me with the kids. And my mom was always like, why are you going to do that? You have kids at home. Why are you going to go do this? You have kids at home. Wait, ¿por qué esto? You have kids at home.
Yeah.
So I had already gotten a big amount of guilt from her and like a little bit from my sister, but not a lot from my sister. My sister's being very understanding, thankfully. But my mom was more like la semana, Irene, that we had in Ceci, that we had the whole like Me Too going on. We had the workshop with Hope, I had been out of the house like 3-4 days straight, but it was like good stuff for us and for me. So it was kind of like doing it again. I felt like, oh my God, my mom's going to give me a guilt trip. I'm not going to tell her. So I told her, I'm meeting a client near Disneyland. So in case she heard Disney somewhere, it wouldn't be like, pues no sé qué. But at the end of the day, she found out I was there, right? I was like, yeah, I ended up seeing the girls. Blah, blah. She's like, ay, ¿por qué no me dijiste? Qué bonito que se vieron. Pero eso me dijo ya after. If I would have told her, I'm going to go meet the girls at Disneyland, she's going to be like, ¿pero por qué? You can be home with your kids, que no sé qué. Your husband just got home from traveling. Why are you going to go and leave him here? Que no sé qué. Like, I just knew it. So I was like, you know what? Me la voy a prevenir. My mom can find out about it later. I'll tell her que le mandaron saludos. And I'm going to go enjoy myself. And I did. I had such a good time. And it was weird being there without my kids. But it was still like a really fun time because I love Disneyland. I worked there. I spent time, as a kid, you always wanted to go. So it was just a really nice time. And I avoided the guilt tripping by, ¿cómo se dice? Just by withholding certain information so that I can just freely go sin preocupación. So yeah, así me pasó eso recientemente.
Pues sí, good for you. It looked like tons of fun. I remember a couple months ago, I had said, I'm like, oh my God, we should go without the kids. Since becoming a mom, I've never been to Disneyland without the kids. But I remember one year I went, and this was pre-kids. It was probably pre-law school, in fact. But I remember going with Cynthia and Christian, and we had a blast. And it was just like, again, like we're laughing. It's like we're kids again. We're kids, but adults that, because we can drink. Pero it was a really good time. So me gustó ver eso, que se juntaron y que la pasaron bien.
I was really happy for Vero. Like I was telling them offline, I was telling the girls offline that in the first set of photos that I saw, because we all have mutual friends, that I was like, where the hell's Vero? Vero's not there. Vero's going, right? And they're like, yeah, she's in the next post or whatever. I was like, okay, good. Because I knew that it was important to get that me time and that girl time. And they were having fun. You could just tell they were being silly. They were being kids, but it's all these cuarentonas, pero buenonas having a good time. I was like, okay, everybody needs this.
Yeah,
like,
sí.
even if we're there or living vicariously.
Grown-ass lady shirts that said drinking beauties. So we thought we were going to get kicked out. And I was like, good. They didn't get kicked out. I can still wear it then,
No, it was super, super sweet. The shirts were really cute. But I can agree with Vero with like having to withhold from your mom. We're like 40-year-old women and we still have to not tell the whole story. Mine's a little better, but I remember when my kids were that age, Vero's kids' age, like, yeah, my mom hated having to watch the kids if I was gone for the weekend and was always like, ¿Dónde vas? ¿Tienes hijos? Yo nunca dejaba mis hijos. Like they lay it on. And I used to love getting away and going to San Francisco to see you, to see Lisette, whoever, right? And I'm not going anywhere bad. I remember once I told my mom years ago, I'm like, Mom, I'm a good mom. I'm not a drug addict. I go to work. Like, I'm not asking you for something big. I'm leaving for 2 days to see my friends, And of course she was like pissed and defensive, but it's weird, right? You grow up culturally and it's so different. Like you spending time by yourself is a negative. And for everybody listening, like you spending time by yourself as a parent should be mandatory. Right. It should be literally mandatory because you're going to lose your mind. Otherwise, you being alone with your husband in a way should be mandatory. In fact, the last time I went to Disneyland, kind of close to what you guys were describing, I took my husband and my 15-and-a-half-year-old son, or 16-year-old now. Oh my God, he was already 16. But that was cool. That felt like being there with adults. Like Diego and I were drinking. We went to California Adventure. We didn't have to worry about people being scared of rides. We were being ourselves with our son. We felt super bonded to him. Do you feel a little guilty because you leave the little ones? Yeah, but it's okay, right? It's okay. And then on the other flip side, if you're listening to this, I know some of you have moms that are super down with watching the kids and support you. So shout out to my mother-in-law, who's the type that'll be like watching my kids for me to go on a date night, and she'll tell Diego, don't come back. Get a hotel room. Ooh. I'm here all night. Don't come back. Yeah.
Love that.
Bring me another grandchild.
Love her. No, yeah. She now is like, llévanse a la familia, me quedo con los perros. Like super dope. Like whatever we need. Watch the house, watch the dogs, watch the kids. And that, I want to be that generation of mom that like, viene alcahueta and like, go bone in a hotel. I'll watch your kids.
Go.
I want to be that mom.
We're just going to bone in the car. It's cool.
I like that. Let's go. We got this. I know. Pues qué padre que tengas esa suegra because yeah, we need that. We need that like time away, ya sea solas, con amigas, or just with her husband, and just to have that that time. In fact, this morning, before I had a meeting right before this, but before that, we were sitting down during breakfast with Luis. When we're working from home, or I'm working from home because he usually works from home, I always make it a point to at least Fridays and Mondays and Fridays to come back after drop off and then like have breakfast together, have our little cafecito, and have like some downtime and just kind of check in and like, all right, what do we got going on? Let's plan this. So what's happening next week? I was like, you know what? I'm like, next week is our birthdays. And he's like, oh shit, this is next week, right? I was like, yeah. I'm like, and he's like, well, I'm taking the day off. He's taking the day off Wednesday, his birthday, and then Thursday, my birthday. He's like, did you take them off? I was like, no, not officially. Because I have to go to immigration court on Wednesday, and it gets scheduled that way. I can't change that. So I said, okay. I'm like, well, let's make the best out of it. Where I have to go, there's this little French cafe. How about you come with me? We have our little cafecito, a little bit French pastry, algo así. I go to my interview with the client, and then we meet up again. And we were doing that because ahorita, no están las niñas en la escuela. We can sit down, make plans for it, and then I said, I'm like, and then the next day, I'm like, oh my God, let's go have brunch at this one place that it's here in the city. I've never been to it. I've always wanted to go, and life gets busy. Y nunca se nos ha hecho ir. And I'm like, let me see if I can make a reservation, because it's one of those places that, you have to make a reservation ahead of time. I'm like, let me see if there is. I'm like, probably, because it's getting close to the holidays, but we're not there yet. So yeah, sure enough, there was like a reservation at like lunchtime, and we're like, let's do it. And that's the plan. Next week, to just have that alone time without feeling guilty. The girls are in school, and they're getting taught, they're being taken care of, and
they're okay.
They're okay. They're learning, and we're gonna be able to have our little alone time. Y qué bueno que we did that, because it's like we've been so busy, and we've been like week after week that we almost I guess we didn't neglect it, but I was like, oh yeah, shit, like it's next week, And then more along the what you guys were talking about, like being with the girlfriends and like feeling guilty. This weekend también Luis had ran his full marathon. He had been training since March, but I estaba yo de alcahueta, like throughout. He's like, can you meet me at like mile 20 and like bring me clothes so I can change into a Gatorade? I was like, yeah, I got you. So we hired our nanny to be here with the girls so that I can go and like find him and do that. So that was cool. He ran it. He was so excited. But I also had plans to go to the SF Symphony every year. One weekend they have like a celebration of Dia de los Muertos, and I've been going for a number of years now, and I love going to it. I usually go with Luis. Last year we took the girls. I feel that they're still too young to kind of really appreciate it. When I mentioned it to them this year, they're like, boring. And I was like, okay, fine. I'm like, well, maybe you guys will stay back. And Luis was like, well, yeah, go ahead.
I didn't want you to go anyway. Okay, kids.
I know. Exactly. So then Luis said, go ahead, go. He's like, maybe invite your friends. And then like, I'll have Doña Mari here so she can help me with the girls, because I'm going to be sore. And, a bit of me felt a little guilty. I was like, shit, I'm like, I'm going to like take off, and he's running this huge thing, and no voy a estar aquí para, papacharlo. And I was like, ay, lo papacho la noche. But it felt good, I saw friends that I hadn't seen in pre-pandemic, and it was good to see them and catch up and like see them, in persona, and like touch them. I feel like we were like touching a lot, like holding hands, and like nos reímos, lloramos, we caught up, and then so it was a good time, and it was much needed. And I came back, and I felt really good. We need that, like you guys were saying, we need that time, ya sea solas, con amigas, with our our partners, and just to recharge. And ahorita que se vienen los holidays, just to reconnect with those friends that we haven't seen in a while, se siente bonito. Yeah.
Eso sí.
Along those lines, I was thinking about, I spoke at an event for my sorority this weekend, and we were talking about They wanted me to connect like how my journey in college helped my career. So then I was being really honest about like all the things that happened to me in college and how they translate to my career. And I talked about how my love for travel started in college and my joy, and it's like a lifelong journey. And I talked about how my college friends like really made that possible. You know, we would travel together, we'd spend our freaking financial aid, like whatever we had to do to make it happen, right?
And we made it work.
But we were out there. And then I said, you know, UCSB makes it really easy. I know these were girls from all different colleges, but I said, you know, they are focused on traveling abroad, like they make it part of their mission. So everybody kind of travels abroad at UCSB, some form of it, summer. And I said how I went for a semester and then I backpacked through Central America, and I was talking about that. And then I flash forward in like a slide later and I talk about how like my family and my marriage and my kids. And then I talk about how we did the exact same trip in reverse and we took these 3 children. I have a photo of my kids and now I can't believe how little they were. But I say to them, like, that courage was not my courage from right there. Like that courage was my courage from being at UCSB. Like when I did that as a 22-year-old single woman on a bus with this white girl on her surfboard, like I had to have so much courage to be like, oh, I could do that. But we're like that. We're like that in college. We're like that when we're young. Maybe our brain's not fully developed, but we're so courageous. We don't think about what's going to happen. And back then we didn't have internet. We didn't have Airbnb. Like I had to literally go to an internet cafe to look up like my next bus route. Like we're really dating ourselves. But like the courage it took to be out there in the world and backpack. And I could see that it resonated with women because I was like, you know, as a mom, I can't forget that. I can't forget as a mom that I did cool, crazy things in college that I can still do as an adult and married and have kids. And it was still judged. It was still seen. I was super guilt tripped, right, for wanting to travel like extensively. But it's who I was. And I figured that out in college. So all those things, everyone's saying like when we recharge with our friends, it reminds us of who we are. Right? Or when we do something fun that we haven't done in a long time, it reminds us of who we are. Like deep down, it brings you like joy. Even if your parent or your spouse or your friend is like, what are you doing? Like, that's crazy. Why are you doing that? Don't you feel bad? So my example now for self-care, I was telling the girls this weekend, like travel is like who I am. Just like if I said, I'm a risk taker or I'm a Mexican or I'm Catholic, like I'm a traveler. Like it's not like cute, like to say I like to travel. Like I'm a traveler and I own it now. But because that's who I am, like I will pick up and leave with my kids one-on-one. And that was hard at first. Like the other kids make you feel like shit. You feel super guilty. God forbid something happens to you. My mom's in my head. Like, ahí andas de pata larga. Te va a pasar algo. Te va a pasar algo. ¿Qué estás haciendo? Tus hijos los vas a dejar. Te vas a llevar al chiquito. You know, she lays it on no matter how old I am. She's better. My mom's actually been really great. So in the last year, she's been like super supportive. But now I have the guilt of like my own kids being like, yeah, when can I go? When can I go? And they've even gotten better, which is nice. But in the beginning, I had to struggle against them making me feel bad because they didn't all get to come. But that's who I am. And my self-care is doing stuff like that. So when I pick up and go with one of them, I want to pick up and go with one of them. It feeds me. It makes me connect to them. It reminds me of who I was, a freer time. So like, my point in all that is no matter what stage you are in life, you're going to get crap. It might even be your kids that tell you what your mama told you. Like, you're going to get crap, right?
Like,
so
I mean, no me hacen eso, eh?
Joy,
No.
If it's who you are, do it anyway. Like, do it anyway, right? Like, do it with kids, do it without kids. Do it individual, do it with a group. But, like, be you anyway. And you don't know where the source of the guilt's going to come, but someone's going to trip you out.
You know, dude, even the kids for sure. You just reminded me. So Saturday, it was like it was an afternoon symphony show, right? It was like a 2 p.m. thing, a 2-hour ordeal. And then afterwards, we're like, oh, let's go have a drink. Like, yeah, let's go have a drink, you know, nearby. Okay. And I was like, yeah, I'm good. We have our nanny. You know, we're good. And then that translated to like another 2 hours. So then I messaged Luis. I'm like, hey, we're here having drinks. I'm like, and he's like, are you going to make it for dinner? I'm like, I'm not. So I'll just, he's like, all right, I got the girls. I'll feed them. I'll let, our nanny go. And then, and so I got here right around like their bedtime. So everybody was already like, Luis was in bed, but, reading or whatever. And then the girls were reading and like going to sleep. And I went in because they were awake to say goodnight. And I go in and freaking Paula, oye, ¿por qué te tardaste tanto? And I was like, this little girl. Oye, te tardaste mucho.
You're like, so used to having us all the time.
All the time. That you took so long. And I was like, I was with my friends. What friends? And I was like, oh my God, ya ni mi marido, like, Paula's like my mini me, así es, And she's like, what friends? And I was like, oh, I mentioned them or whatever. And then she's like, oh, I don't know that one or whatever. And she only knows Vero, Irene, for the most part, y Lisette, las que menciono mucho y que no las conocían. Oh, okay. ¿Qué te dijeron de mí, de nosotras? I'm like, oh my God.
Oy.
Like, I'm getting interrogated by little 5-year-old twins acá.
Little FBI agents.
Pero
out
ya,
there, man.
ya empezaron así con que, like, yeah, for
But
sure.
yeah, Paulita, I
For
told
sure.
Paulita to tell you, those are not your real friends. Your real friends are Vero, Irene, and Lisette. I told her to tell you that. Did she finish the
Cálmate, Leo.
sentence? No es cierto.
Cálmate, Leo,
Leo.
tus amigas verdaderas.
Hashtag Leo, calm down. Oye, cuando Irene estaba diciendo eso de que how, like, I am so amazed at the women that we knew, that women that helped grow up with us. Like, correct it. The women that grew up with us in college. Like, I'm just amazed at how awesome each and every one of them, and you two included, right? That we were, if we weren't the courageous ones or the brave ones, we had someone to bring us along and allowed us to be like, oh, this stuff is okay. Like, qué bonitas amistades, like these friendships, these lifelong friendships that we've been able to build and maintain. Like, and it's important to have them because, like I mentioned, like, you forget sometimes that this is who you were. And I think depending on every stage of your life, and, you know, each of us are in different little stages, but even like, you know, I remember when I graduated college and I came back home, like, I don't think I saw Irene and Lisette and Sandrita for a while, you know, until like maybe ya después me tocó verlas. It was kind of like, oh man, okay, I miss these girls. Like, where have you guys been in this last year of me being back at, you know, in LA? And I know that the girls from UCLA, the hermanas from UCLA, came in clutch. Like, I was going through a major depression, and I was just like, my friends are not close by anymore. Everyone's moved away, or we all left Santa Barbara, went back to our hometowns, and where are my homegirls at? Where the hoes at? You know, like, not like that literally, but, you know. And
that hoeing caught up to us. We were like wifeys.
Girl, we tired. We tired. But it's kind of like, it helps. It's a really beautiful reminder that we had such amazing women that we grew up with, became adults with, and that even now, like, we are able to maintain those friendships and remind us, like, Dad, you know what? You're right. I am kind of like that. Why haven't I done that lately? And what is it? And yes, we change. We grow up. Different life experiences take us in different paths. But there's those essential parts of you, your essence, that sometimes we kind of shut off. It's good to remind yourself and surround yourself by these women. And I love that it's these mujeres that kind of bring us back to, like, no, si tú siempre has sido esta clase de persona que me acuerdo eras así. And you're like, well, why haven't I been that lately? So it's beautiful to do that. Get out, reconnect. And even if you're not that same young little Vero, little young Irene or Ceci, remind yourself, like, that little person that you were then is still in you, and you want to kind of feed it. It may be in a different way. You know, maybe now we're not, you know, now maybe we can fly places instead of getting the bus for 48 hours, you know, from one point of Mexico to the other. But it's kind of just a beautiful reminder that, like, in your essence, you need to remind yourself of who you are, and that might give you like a reboost in energy to keep going that next chapter in your life. So that's a little reminder.
And if you can't, and you can't figure out who you are, and you're like, I hear Vero, but I don't know how to remind myself. I don't know where those people are. I'm like stuck. Go to therapy. Because, like, we had that in our notes. That, like, self-care is taking care of yourself, healing, getting the support you need. I know therapy in our community is looked down on, and it's judged, and you're looked at as someone that has something wrong with them. You're crazy or whatever it may be. And it may not be everyone, but definitely we're struggling with this stigma. And I know that for me, therapy's been really good, and it's not a coincidence that my relationship with my mom is, like, so different for me now. Like, almost 18 months into going to therapy, like, what I focused on through therapy was, like, that relationship with my mom. I didn't realize that's what I was going to focus on. I thought I was going to focus on, like, my relationships with people in general, and, like, my husband and my own life. But they always take you back to your childhood and you as a kid. And so my tip of the day is going to be, it doesn't have to be necessarily therapy for you, but finding that solace, going back to your place, your people. If you don't have them, look for help, even if you get guilt tripped for something like therapy or a support group or exercise. People get guilt tripped for exercising, and that's your form of therapy. For some people, it's like they love it. They love being at the gym. Like, don't be judged and don't be shamed for that. You know, folks may not understand you, but in my example, like, focusing on being a better daughter in therapy has now made me such a better relationship with my mom where I can say now, like, oh, she doesn't really guilt trip me for that anymore. Or she doesn't say that to me anymore. Or she doesn't, I never thought I'd get to a point where I'd say, like, my mom, if I would call her, would guilt trip me because it's been 48 hours. Now my mom doesn't do that. If I called her and told her I was traveling, she'd guilt trip me because I was traveling. Now she doesn't do that. Like, where are you going? How's it going? She's completely changed her way of being with me. And all because I worked on sort of just being really good with my mom and let it not get to me and be kind no matter what and be there with her no matter what. Because sometimes people that guilt trip you, you don't want them in your life. And that's what I was doing. Like, I would avoid having my mom in my life or her opinion in my life because it made me feel bad about myself, right? So I had to go all in. Like, I'm just going to go all in. And like, like when people like white knuckle it and they don't want to drink anymore, they don't want to smoke anymore. I'm like, I'm just going to like take in my mom's guilt trips. Like, no matter what, I'm going to call, no matter what, I'm going to be with her, no matter what. And friends, the guilt trips went away. So my tip is like, figure out the thing that's making you feel bad and maybe like lean into it. And it could be therapy. It could be the gym. It could be your friends. It could be church. But like, and I'm saying this because I'm on the other side, like lean into it. And was it hard? Yeah. Because I'm like, oh, my mom always makes me feel bad about my life. Like hanging out with her is hard, but it's not anymore. Like I really am, like it's not calling her and being with her and hearing from her. So my mom didn't mean to guilt trip me, I don't think. I think she just didn't understand me, friends. And our parents, that generation,
Oh, yeah.
they love you and they don't know how to tell you they love you or they miss you or they want you safe. So they tell you bad things are going to happen or why are you doing that or that's irresponsible. Like they judge you. And when they're really trying to say is like, I miss you, I love you. And one thing I'll never forget my therapist told me, which I loved, and I wanted to share this on a show if I haven't. And I probably have, but I'll say it again because it's applicable to this. She would always say, whenever your mom tells you like, you haven't visited, nobody visits me, you never call, or you haven't called, or whatever she says. What she's really trying to say is, I miss you. So just hear, I miss you. How are you? I want to hear from you. She's really trying to do something different. And that like completely changed my life because whenever my mom would just pile it on, I'd be like, she misses me. She loves me. She'd be like, just start saying, I miss you too if you need to. I'm like, she's going to get all offended. Yo también la extraño. And she's like, no me has hablado. But it worked, friends. Like it worked. Like I'm fucking acting like I don't hear the guilt trip. Isn't that great? Like, oh, the guilt trip doesn't even touch me. Like, I love you too, mom. I would have to change her words because I would hear like, I miss you. I love you. ¿Cómo estás, mija? Like, I love the kids. Instead of, ay, esos niños nunca me hablan. Los niños ni se acuerdan que tienen abuela. She would always say stuff like that, right? She would always say crap like that, right?
Yeah.
Ay, ni hablan español. Whatever. And before it's like, oh, my mom, I can't get it right with her.
Yeah.
But now it's like, también la quieren venir a visitar, la extrañan. So whatever you got to do, friends, I mean it from a place of like, I've been in the guilt trip trenches and I'm feeling like I'm on the other side. For now, knock on wood.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Two things came up right now. And I guess I had part of it in the notes is the whole getting help, that I felt like I was guilt tripped. Like, ¿cuánto te cobra la señora? The cleaning lady, ¿cuánto te cobra? Ay, está bien caro eso, ¿a poco? No, pues mejor, I think mejor que nos paguen a nosotros, para limpiar. And I'm like, ay, okay. First, like, ¿quién va a venir acá a limpiar la casa? Una tía from my mom, right? And then second of all, it's like, pues, like, we need it, we need it. No hay tiempo de limpiar. Like, there's no way that we can get, work, have the kids, have our family, like maintain your family and cook and aparte limpiar. Like, no, pero yeah, that like, ay, cobra bien caro. And it's like, and like a veces ni quiere decir. I'm like, I don't want to share like how much I pay for like cleaning, like the cleaning lady. That's one. The other thing was, like running. I love running, and it's like, oh, pues está bien caro eso, like, oh my God, that's, to participate in a half marathon or a marathon, like it's expensive, but it's like something that we enjoy and we feel better. And I know están locos, like, correr tanto, and that, the family will say. And then you mentioned therapy, how it's not very, very common, or it's looked down upon in our community. And I know we've talked a lot about, or we brought up therapy a lot this year. So I'm proud that we have, and also that we've talked about it. We've embraced it. I mean, I keep on saying that right now with everything that I have going on with like my parents and my family, thank God that I'm in therapy, because I look forward to those weekly sessions. And I mean, not that, everything's balanced, but I can feel a balance. I can feel that I'm putting in the work. I look forward to those sessions and I just feel better. And it's, thank God that I have this woman that I talk to every single week that helps me process everything that's going on. And I feel blessed and lucky that I have this woman. And I was my agenda, I think I've talked about this, but in my agenda every month, it has kind of like for you to kind of summarize and reflect back on your month. And so I was looking at, like, October went by so fast. I felt so busy, and I was looking back at everything that, I was able to accomplish, but just for my parents, just for my parents, like, doctor's appointments, this, that. And then two of those things was that because I advocated for my parents and I was emailing and this and that, I got both my parents on therapy. Like, they're both in therapy. And, they're in they're 70, they're both 70. And it's like, who would have thought or imagined that they'd, be seeing someone and on a weekly, and because of technology, I think my mom does it via video, my dad sometimes on video or like on the phone, but they're doing it. And, I've told them, I'm like, I know sometimes you probably don't know what you want to talk about, but, solito, ellas te lo van a sacar, because they have Spanish speaking therapists. So even better, because with translation se pierde un poquito, So
I hope your parents last. My mom quit on 2 therapists already. But my mom feels like, ay, es que no, pues de qué hablamos? Like, oh, mami, tú, everything you share with me, those stories that I know hold pain, like, those stories that are like cuando dices, pues cuéntame algo nuevo, like, mom, we need to get you out because you need to get some new experiences.
Yes.
And no matter, like, even taking her out and new experiences, like, there's these key, like, stories that stay, because there's trauma, there's hurt, there's resentment, there's something there that she just can't let go of. And I'm like, Mom, that's why you need a therapist. So she's quit on 2 already after like maybe 3 calls. And, usually their first call is just getting to know each other. And then, and like it's built on, it's like little building blocks, little Lego pieces. It's first, entonces ponen los grandes and, but I'm like, Mom, don't give up. And the thing is that she's like, it just doesn't make sense to me. How is this person supposed to help me? I'm like, well, give yourself that opportunity. Like, comparte lo que tú compartes con nosotros.
Yes.
And let them kind of guide you through there. They're going to ask you questions and be honest, be honest about what's going on. Like, this person's there to not judge you. And I think that in her head, if she shares, she's going to just be judged by some random person. And she doesn't want that. So I was like, usted no se dé por vencida. Like, this is at the end for you. It's good for you to get it out. She's like, pues ustedes siempre me dicen que ya se enfadaron de escuchar lo que digo. Le hago, no nos enfadamos.
No,
I know. Son rápidos de like to make up. Tú dijiste, no.
Le hago, yo no dije eso. Le hago, lo que decimos es que eso es muy importante que usted se lo repita a alguien que le pueda ayudar. Yo ya le escuché varias veces y lo que yo tengo que compartir con usted tal vez isn't hitting where you need it to hit.
Right.
So I can't
It's like
heal
not your
you.
job. Like, you don't know.
Yeah, you don't know.
I'm like, Mom, I wanted to be a therapist at one point. I am not that person anymore. But that's like, I feel that our parents, I hope that, Ceci, I really hope your mom and your dad like stick with it because it's so helpful,
I what I've done? Every weekend, they have this like whiteboard, right? Erase board, like calendar thing that I got for them. Mm-hmm. And so every weekend I write everybody's appointments. All right. Las citas. Okay. Acuérdense. And then I write it in my own calendar, and you better believe them. I text them like, hey, don't forget you have therapy today. Sí, yeah.
I love it.
I have to do that. It's because like our parents become como niños, de alguna manera. And that's what is, también mi papá, también mi papá, no, pues es que no me sirve de nada, this, that. I was like, Dad, I'm like, it's not going to get better in 1, 2 sessions, not 3. I'm like, it's a process. It's a process. It's lengthy. And, hasta le di un journal. I'm like, and both of them, I got them my journal. I'm like, here, I'm like, if you guys think of something during the week, like write it down. That way, when it comes back, when it comes time for your session, like you have it there.
It's fascinating to me. This story feels so like, I'm looking at you, Ceci, and I'm like, if I have one friend in my entire life that has felt like the most well-adjusted, most steady, most patient, most understanding, most uncomplicated, it would be you. And I would always say, oh, I don't know how her parents did it. Like, how did her parents do it? Like, they're normal parents, like the rest of our parents, they're normal Latinos. And they somehow raise these very confident, well-adjusted, great kids. It doesn't take from you still being that person. But look at Ceci and her family in therapy. Like, we all can benefit. I'm over here assuming that, like, if people look at perfect families, like I would look at yours and be like, they got the perfect family. But nobody has the perfect family.
Nobody
That's
has
number
the perfect
one.
family.
That was my number one point that I look at you all, and I look at like cómo salieron adelante and surviving normal things that people go through, illness and struggle and pobreza. And still here we are. Like the point is that no one has it all together, and it's not bad to need help, right? It's not bad to need help. So I would love to be able to do what you're doing for your parents, for my mom. Like I'll get there. And then to Vero's point with her mom, like use us as an example. Like we also don't know. I'm sure Ceci and I in the beginning were like, we have nothing to talk about. I don't want to go to therapy today. Like, what did we talk about? Like, I don't, there's no issues anymore. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like for a while, you don't know what you're doing. You're just showing up because you don't want to be that person who doesn't show up. And then after a while, you're like, what did we just talk about? Like my childhood again? Like, how did me being pissed off at the car this morning turn into my childhood again? Like, or whatever, right? But you don't know, but like you have no idea that it's working. And then therapists don't tell you what to do. They just like ask you questions. You're like, just tell me, therapist. Just tell me the answer, girl. They don't give them to you.
I told you guys, right? When I went to therapy, I was like, I told the therapist, I had to tell her, like, look, you know what? I'm going to come in here and because I'm showing up because I want to be here. I'm like, I know I reached out to you. I reached out to you because I knew I needed help, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to give it to you just like that. I'm like, you're going to need to ask me questions because I know I'm going to bullshit you. I'm going to try to bullshit you and like make it seem like there's nothing wrong. And even though I reached out and booked you, right? So it's definitely one of those where you have to just kind of be like, okay, you know what? If I was going to ramble off on my boyfriend or my comadre, let me ramble off with you. And maybe you can make sense for some shit, right? Mm-hmm, and eventually shit got deep. Shit gets deep. And you're like, oh my God, I didn't think I was dealing with that or healing through or working through that. And it's really awesome when you have those moments of like, ya entendí. And even if they don't give you the homework, right? They're not telling you like, well, I want you to go home now and I want you to do this. It's more like you process that conversation and what came up and you're like, let me see how else is this happening or manifesting itself in my current life? Like, what am I doing now that is really affecting me growing or healing? But at one point I was going to make about what Irene was saying about our moms. It's like, when we go home, like there's always this, like, they always see us as their kids or babies, you know, like it's really hard to kind of not fall back into the role you played when you were home and your parents want to constantly just take care of you. I think this is an excellent thing to mention. Like one of my clients, she's like, I'm having a hard time. My parents really just respecting me as an adult and understanding me as an adult. And, you know, and here's this girl that's doing amazing things and working so hard. But she's like, I feel that they just don't take my time and take my scheduled and the things I need to do into consideration. She's like, and they want me to drop everything when it comes to them. And I'm like, trying to help her process, like, how do we kind of engage with our parents to help them understand that we're not the little kids we were before, but that we are these adults that are responsible, that are, you know, making it through life, not just kind of stumbling through life, but that have plans in place and have these, you know, we're making things work for us and we're working towards those goals that they helped kind of build us, you know, like kind of encourage us to go after. But it's like, how do we help them open their eyes that, okay, here are my kids. They're grown-up kids. I can trust them. I can, you know, they can definitely do it. Like, there's not a day that my mom won't ask me, ¿y le dices de comer a los niños? I'm like, of course, Mom. Like, what do you mean? Like, of course I'm going to feed my kids. But in my mom's head, I'm that little girl that she used to have to chase and feed and darle la boca because I wouldn't want to eat, right, when I was little. But it's like, no, Mom, it's okay. I'm not little Vero. I'm adult Vero that's able to do this. So there's a lot of us that are dealing with that, going through that process of having our parents understand us, that we're adults, that they did a good job raising us, that our experiences did a good job in building who we are as people, as grownups, and that there's going to have to be a moment of them understanding that they need to grow this sense of respect for who we are and who we've become, that we're not these young, irresponsible kids that were making dumb mistakes and making silly decisions just because of it. You know, we were growing and learning then.
And you know what it is, Vero? We hear it as adults now and we don't get it, but it's like mothering them. Like they're trying to mother you, and I used to not get it before, but I'm like, yeah, I'm mothering my mom when I show up anyway, and she's making me feel bad. I'm mothering my mom when I am modeling, like she may be gossiping and maybe negative, but I'm always positive. Like I don't go down the negative route on purpose because I know that my mom's way of being, like with you, Vero, she's, have you fed them? Have you fed them? I know that gets under everybody's skin in my family. So I'm trying to like, and it's not my job, but like, I know her delivery means well, but she treats everybody like a bunch of kids. And so I'm like, well, let me just give kindness back and love back, and everybody else kind of gets on her like, duh, mom, like, duh, get off my back, like all the siblings get like triggered by her trying to mother us as 40 and 50-year-olds. And so what I would try to do is like mother her back, and like you were saying, you keep their agenda, you text them, like Vera, you're saying, don't give up. Like we are indirectly, in spite of the guilt trip, trying to be like their parents, and they're giving us shit, right? Like, yeah, my kids obviously ate, they're not like freaking falling apart over here, and
I'd be joking
phone,
like,
right?
no,
like,
mami,
we know how to be
no,
moms, but
mami.
they don't see us like that.
No les di de comer una semana.
No, también, no tengo tres
Se me
semanas.
olvidó. And she's like, ay, Verónica, no juegues, no juegues.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, yeah. But, I mean, it is funny. Like, I did that to my mom once. She's like, tú nunca me hablas. ¿Usted también nunca me habla? ¿Se le olvidó mi teléfono? Like, giving it back. Like, call me too, mom. Like,
you can call me too.
we're equals in a way.
I know. When I always, when I call my mom, siempre me pregunta, ¿y mis chiquitas? Like, she'll never ask, like, ¿y ustedes cómo están? ¿Tú cómo estás? Mis chiquitas. That's always sus chiquitas.
But that's because I think, again, they're learning to, like, I don't know. Our parents. So when we talked about guilt trip today, it's because, like, I really want to reiterate, like, their guilt trip in a way, weirdly, is them trying to show us love. It's just how it's coming across. That's like, or their inability to communicate. It's because no one was communicating with them, and it's a generational thing, and they don't know how to say, how are you? But really, how are you? So back to mothering them. No, mami, pero tú cómo estás? Like, outside of everything, doctor's appointments, my dad, my this, how are you feeling? Like, when we can model for them, like, just loving them when they're guilt tripping us, I think that's going to help everybody in the long run.
Word,
I think so
sure.
too. I think so too. I les puse un comentario en el chat. Como buena católica, dejar una veladora prendida y me acordé de cómo
Se me va a quemar la casa.
I love that. Catholic guilt. We didn't even touch that bit.
Catholic
girl,
guilt.
no, let's
I
not
know,
even
my
get
mi
there.
veladora. But yeah,
we won't go there.
My mom,
that'll be another.
that's a good one to talk about the next time, because girl, my mom's like,
Yeah.
these kids are having too many nightmares. You need to baptize these little mofos. I'm like, Mom, I know.
Oh gosh, that's
I'm like,
another
there,
one.
the little one's 3 months now. We can start looking into the baptism stuff.
Big episode that we need to have. I think this is going to be a series, like guilt around spending money.
Oh, girl.
Ceci talked on it a little bit, but I can go on and on and on about guilt around spending money and our programming as a kid. So this is your general guilt trip and self-care, but we got to talk about money and religion one day. So
Y'all ain't ready. Y'all ain't ready for that.
Y'all ain't ready. Y'all ain't ready. Pero bueno, thank you for showing up. Thank you for sharing your guilt trips for self-care. And this was a good episode. I liked seeing you guys today and just talking and catching up. Before we wrap up, I just want to remind folks, our listeners, that we have really cool affiliates. Y como ya se viene Black Friday and the holidays, don't forget to check them out. They're on our website. We have amazing affiliates como SodaStream. I know we love our SodaStream because we love that gassy water. Agua gas, como dicen mis niñas. We also have Macy's. I know they have some great deals coming up, so don't forget to check them out. And what else? What else am I forgetting? Also on our website, you can find out more information as to how to give shout outs on our podcast. If you're a fan and you want to give a shout out to, your comadre, your tía, tu prima, a quien sea, también our website tells you how to order one of those.
And shout out también está bienvenido for the small businesses that you're like, hey, we have some amazing Latinas right here having a great podcast. I wonder who tunes in, and they may want to buy my stuff. So your small business can be also your small business can also buy one of those shout outs and kind of let everyone know about what your product is. And we'd love to have you guys on there.
Kind of along this line, if you also want to sponsor one of our episodes coming up, there's a lot of great stuff happening around Equal Pay Day in December for Latinas. And you want to be that business that stands out, that promotes like a podcast that's talking about the content of your business and the integrity of your business. So sponsor that episode. Like, it'll be all about you. If you take one of the larger packages, we have information on that to shout you out an entire week on social media as a sponsor of a podcast. You could do a segment on our podcast, whatever you want as a business owner, but I would jump on it. I would jump on showing that you're aligned with supporting your Latina businesses, your Latina employees, your Latina partners, and Equal Pay Day. And that first week of December, December, that time frame is a really good time to be highlighted on a podcast like ours and to be in partnership with us. Because what we talk about is leveling up La Latina. So level up with us and sponsor that episode segment that week and reach out to us for more information. Ceci's going to tell you how to find us.
Yes, and we mentioned our website. Our website is leveluplatina.com. Check us out there. And we're also on social media, Instagram and Facebook at Level Up Latina, and on Twitter at Latina_up. También tenemos YouTube, and hopefully, soon we'll start recording videos of our podcast. It's in the works, so stay tuned. Thank you for listening. Thanks for showing up, and thanks for being listeners. And las quiero, chicas. Un beso.
Un beso. Thank you.
Level up.
Level up y lávense la cola.